lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that on every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I probably fly that American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. Corey Buchan, happy hump day. Bill McIntyre, good morning, everyone. Let's go. SP Freight, aka Jamie, good morning. All watching over on YouTube. I love it. I love seeing people go over there. Frankly, I love it when people tune in and watch from wherever, but it seems that YouTube has the better quality of stream and everything compared to the other platforms that I go live on. But yeah, you guys, it is hump day. The week is, it seemed like, I don't know about you guys, but it seemed like yesterday was still a holiday, right? Like it didn't seem like anybody was working. I still got a ton of out of offices and everything yesterday, but it seems like today is starting to come back to, I don't want to call it normal, because I don't think that we're going to see a return to that until like next week, realistically. But I'm just feeling it out there. But yeah, today was definitely, going into the gym this morning, it was definitely that New Year, New Me crowd showed up. Because like the morning crew that I normally are there with like tripled today. But no, it's good to get this year started off right on the right foot and everything. And Catherine Whitehouse, it's a great morning to be here. Thank you, Chris, for always showing up. I appreciate that, Catherine. Thank you for always showing up and showing your support and everything out here. But I truly think, because again, it's always so, these times it's just like, what do you do, right? Especially when you feel like nobody else is working or you're putting your effort out there. And again, to me, it's always about that discipline on showing up and putting in the work, right? No matter what. Like, what are you looking at? And even if people aren't responding right now, right? Like, what can you do? Like, look at your pitch, look at your email outreach, whatever that looks like, however you're out there developing business, or look at the strategy, right? Maybe you didn't take that time between Christmas and New Year's to take that to look at what you're doing from a sales outreach perspective, and maybe looking at a different way of doing it. Because frankly, at the end of the day, you got to constantly look at that, right? And that's something that I'm looking at right now as well. And, because my main sales strategy this year is going to be to get in front of as many people as possible in person. If that means I got to fly out to wherever to go and see them, I'm going to do that. That's going to be my main thing. My big push this year, no matter what, is to get in front of as many people as possible. And if you don't have the budget to do that, right? Like what can you do? And I talk about this a lot too, is, it's really about owning your backyard. It really is. Wherever you are, get local, get out there and meet as many people as possible, right? Like, I'm definitely going to get out to as many people as I can here in Phoenix, where I live. Vegas is going to be another area that I focus on, because that's a quick, if I want to fly up there, it's a quick flight. Or if I want to drive up there, it's only about like a 5-hour drive from Arizona, and then down in Tucson as well. I want to really focus in on that because, from a budgetary perspective, I don't have it in my budget to fly all over the country every single week to go out there and visit prospects. I have to be strategic about it in everything and kind of align it with some of my other travel. But that's my main thing that I'm going to do this year. I am going to get in front of as many people as possible in person. I'm going to rely less and less on email outreach outside of trying to establish a site visit, right? Because my whole thing is, everybody wants to, and again, like, I'm a massive fan of technology. I've said that. but everybody wants to remove that human element from it, it seems, and it's like, I see the pitches that are out there, and, I see some shippers, that, they'll post up on LinkedIn, and it's kind of funny that, you wonder why some of these people, don't are not active on LinkedIn. And it's funny because I saw a couple of those posts in my feed yesterday, and it really explains why people don't do it. But again, I just want to get in front of people, right? Like, I want to bring that human element down to it, because that's really the main deciding factor on why people are going to work with you or not, is if they like you. Really, that's really what it does, because I want to be in front of them. I want them to feel the passion. I want them to feel my give a fuck about their business. And I can't properly articulate that via email or an impersonal visit. I got to be in there, and I got to be in front of them. So like, that's my main focus as I grow and scale my company this year. Is I'm just, and I've talked about this, I'm going to get back to the basics, right? And I started off, when I started doing sales, it was only cold call. But basics to me, I'm going to get in front of as many people as possible this year. And, I'm going to get confirmation, and then I'm going to go out, and then I'm going to spiral out my radius on, once I get a confirmed visit, then I'm going to go and hit everybody in that area. And I'm just going to be very strategic about owning that backyard, and really increase my output and everything. And that's just where my main focal point is going to be from a business development standpoint this year, because I truly feel, I truly feel this to my core, you guys, that going back to the blocking and tackling of this industry is going to earn you more opportunities and at bats with your prospects. I think the more people focus on automation of their operations as a sales pitch, I think that's going to be less and less of a deterrent. It's just my gut saying that. Okay. It's straight my gut. They want to know that there are straight up like subject matter experts hauling their freight. Not, hey, we automate this, we do this, we do that. It's no, you get Chris and you get my expertise. And frankly, at the end of the day, you're never going to guess what's going on. And I'm going to go back to it. And you know what? I'll just let you know my results at the end of this year on where I end up, because I know that it's going to work, because I'm just going to go back to that. Let me see here. Carla Isted, good morning to you. And then Jamie says, I swear trucks are on vacation. I would agree with that, Jamie. Sonny Sharma, good morning, orange shirt, freight freaks. Let's go. Jeff Dickinson, happy new year to you as well, man. Says great things are going to happen. Go after it. It will not go after you. Amen to that. Chandler, my man. He says he used to work a 3-hour driving radius. Chandler owns his own company, you guys. I would listen to him, right? He's got a business. He's somebody who I would listen to when it comes down to it. Own your backyard. We talk about it all the time. And let me see here. Do you know? Also, do you do what you know like agriculture? I don't know what you mean by this. I'm sorry. Tracy, good morning to you. Tracy St. Clair, what's up? And then Jeff Dickinson says, when shippers post, it opens up Pandora's box hammering of incoming calls. Yeah, it's really pathetic, man. Sydney Thiessen, what is up? Good morning. Yeah, Chandler, I agree, man. The basics is that everybody looks over, right? I truly, truly feel this to my core, man. Because again, take everything I'm saying for what it's worth. This is just somebody who actually works in the industry. But from my perspective, they just need somebody who will know what they're doing, right? You don't have to be complex. You don't have to try and oversell, like on the movie Joe Dirt, don't try and spice it up. That's what a lot of brokers need to stop doing, is trying to spice up what they actually are, right? Like all these guys are like, oh, we're asset light. And I know that there are some people are, but there's a lot of people who rely on that. Like at the end of the day, I've never had trucks ever in the entirety of my career. And ironically, I've never gotten turned away either, because everybody works with brokers. They just don't want to work with shitty brokers. So yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. It is going to be one of the best selling points. And Chandler says everyone skips these basics. New people won't, because they won't know any better. Comes down to leadership. Train them right. Train them the first time. Train them right. Let me see here. Sorry, I got a customer email. I got to respond to my customer here, you guys, because again, I'm actually moving freight up here. All right, perfect. You want to know how I move freight, you guys? Green screens, upper right-hand corner or left-hand corner of my screen. I use them for all of my rates, literally every single one. They are going to give you the most accurate pricing out there, you guys. It for everything. A lot of us, when we start off, like we're not going to get RFP freight, right? Like you're not going to. You're going to get last minute, same day opportunities that are going to come about. And where do you find accurate pricing for that, especially if you're newer in that market? And for me, I literally use green screens every single day. I'm very fortunate to have them be a partner of my media stuff, but I also use them inside of my brokerage, you guys. I cannot speak highly enough of them on the accuracy of what their product actually brings to the table. So if you want to move real freight, hit them up. You guys check out what they have from their software. Hands down. Tom Smiley, excuse me. You're Thomas on LinkedIn, bro. What? I love it. They have to, though. Shippers constantly are looking for what makes a broker stand out. Yep. And then let me see. Do I know any egg? Go to after egg customers. If you know sheet metal, go after sheet metal. Yes. Go after that niche. That's exactly it. Again, you guys, I've been doing this for a very long time. I only go after open deck and heavy haul. Yes, there's some dry van that comes along with that. So I will go after that because I only go after specific commodities inside of that niche. And I would highly recommend that's where everybody goes back down to. But fuel went down again, which is a good welcoming sign. You guys, I get everything, all of that information from the EIA.gov. It's at $3.87 a gallon nationwide out there right now. But let's get into some headlines here. Let's break down all this stuff that's going on. As always, you guys, the links to the articles I put up over on the Freight Coach YouTube channel, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay for it. Because as always, I am not whatchamacallit here. I just want to put these articles out there because I really want you guys to break them down and read them out on your own. First article is from FreightWaves, and this is transportation capacity up again in December and pricing falls faster. The transportation metrics slid again in December with capacity increasing at a faster pace and prices declining at a higher rate, according to a monthly survey of supply chain executives. However, there was some optimism that the cycle may turn in the new year. The Logistics Managers Index registered 63.3 for capacity during the month, which was 1.5 percentage points higher than in November. And then the LMI is a diffusion index, where a reading above 50 indicates expansion, while one below 50 signals contraction. The growth rate of transportation capacity was 10 points higher in the second half of the month than it was in the first half. And then the transportation utilization of 54.6 was 4.6% higher than in the month, and the metric was up 8 points in back half of the month, which the Tuesday report attributed to last minute holiday related shipments. And then transportation prices declined again, down 1.1 points in November, and the pricing index appears to have bottomed in May. I would like to see how this looks here in a little bit later on this month, because I think that rates, I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing rates still sky high from around the holidays. So I think that that's going to be a thing. But like those are also things to take into consideration, you guys, as you're going out and bidding on freight. Like the rates that you're getting quoted today, like I move a lane pretty consistently out of Arizona here into Cali, and it was like a 45% increase in pricing on the rates that we're getting quoted between a normal time and what you're getting right now. So those are things that factor in to a lot of this data. And those were why you got to remove those outliers as you're going out there and try and quote on freight. Respondents were asked to predict conditions 1 year out. The forward-looking expectation for transportation capacity was 51, with pricing coming in at 70.3. Both numbers would represent a major shift in clear ends to the freight recession that we have been mirrored in since April of 2022. Okay, hold on. Let me keep reading the article. The overall LMI moved back into expansion territory during December. The move was largely to a set of warehousing capacity grew at a lower pace out there. Inventory levels declined at the same pace they did back in November. And then it goes on to say that it will be interesting to see if changes in the new year or if this is the low point and manufacturers or wholesalers will begin building inventory back up. I think that, when it comes to an inventory perspective, I think that it's, it's going to be interesting to see how people go in and really replenish their inventory levels. If they're going to do it like previously before, or are they going to be more apprehensive on, keeping it, right? Like I truly feel like a lot of the information and tendencies of people from 21 and 22 are yet to really come out. And I think that that's because I think that everything's different now, right? Like not everything, but for the most part, I think the way that people keep inventory and plan for inventory is going to look a little bit differently. And it's going to see if like how that plays out. But I think it's going to take another 12 months to see if things are going to change or if they're going to return back to how they normally order inventory or plan on inventory. And, because it does say in here that inventory has been lean for months, but as we go into 2024, with a year of inventory reduction practices under our belt, it's likely that the normal seasonality that leads to capacity utilization in warehousing, in particular freight, will return. I would agree with that statement wholeheartedly because I truly think that this last year in 2023 was kind of a wait and see moment because like no matter what, even though things are over, but there's still a lot of uncertainty out there, and I don't think in when you're looking at it from an economic standpoint with inflation and everything else, the cost of purchasing goods right now is exponentially higher, and they might be holding out a little bit longer, and they'll risk keeping a reduced inventory level in the event that prices will drop, and then they can restock at a lower price as opposed to a higher price point. So I think that that's going to be very telling on how the market will react. And that could be an explanation on why some freight volumes are, stagnant, right? Where people aren't going to rush to backfill their inventory up because of the current price point. It's no denying that everything is more expensive out there right now. So that might be that cat and mouse game. Again, I don't know. I don't work in inventory. This is just a guy who went to public school, who's worked in this industry, who's just assessing based on this information that these companies might be waiting to replenish inventory levels to see if prices actually drop or how the overall economy kind of shakes out to see if they can get their cost of goods to reduce out there from their purchase point. So let me see here. That article, freightwaves.com, good article. Transportation capacity up again in December and pricing falls faster. And let me see here. Next article is going to be federal funding. Excuse me. This is from ttnews.com. Federal funding bill tops election year agenda. And as I was talking yesterday, and other people who have been in this industry for a long time that I talk to a lot, I think the election year aspect of things, I think is going to be a very big indicator on how the market actually performs. I really do. It goes on to say in this article, it was late in 2023 when Representative Mike Johnson first addressed the U.S. House of Representatives as the new speaker, but it is in this job that Johnson has hit the ground running somewhat out of necessity. Johnson's October ascension to the post capped a tumultuous stretch where multiple candidates emerged and then fell by the wayside to replace Kevin McCarthy. The long run-up to his election stalled budget negotiations to keep the federal government running, and then it put Johnson in a hot seat. And then although Republicans support the short-term bill split, the speaker managed to wrap up 2023 holding on to a majority of his caucus support, and he'll need it as the House and Senate will kick off 2024 under pressure to finalize fiscal year. That's just such a problem to me. Anyways, and it goes on to say that we're all hands on deck on the appropriation bills. And as we know, we have looming deadlines that we have agreed on that. It is unclear, however, how much Republican support Johnson will manage to keep entering his first full year of the tenure. Several House Republicans are taking aim at programs related to energy policy. In the Senate Appropriations Committee, in the Senate, Appropriations Committee Chairwoman Patty Murray emphasized a sense of urgency surrounding the funding process. She urged the speaker to expedite negotiations while warning against extending another short-term measure through the fiscal year of 2024. We need to pass full year spending bills. That's it. So I hope the speaker hears me loud and clear, said Murray on December 12th. I would agree with that. I think that we should never go into a fiscal year in the United States government not having a funding bill done for the entirety of the year. Anyways, back to the article. Specific to trucking, the House and Senate have agreed on dedicating nearly $1 billion of the FMCSA's operating budget, but have yet to arrive on a final budget bill for the agency. Instead, the agency and the rest of the broader Department of Transportation, their funding runs out on January 19th. And for congressional leaders such as Johnson, budget negotiations will consume their attention for much of January. The Infrastructure Act, this is also in it. Since its enactment in 2021, the $1.2 trillion act has provided funding boosts to connectivity prospects on local and regional levels. IIJA is expected to continue to anchor Biden's economic agenda on highway safety goals due primarily to its vast reservoir of funding. For instance, the US DOT is announcing new tranches of grants. For instance, during the recent announcement, $817 million in grants for safe streets projects for regional, local, and tribal communities. Pete Buttigieg observed that we are acting to confront the crisis of safety on our nation's road, helping communities work to reduce traffic deaths and to the only acceptable number of 0. And let me see here. I'm just kind of skipping ahead because there's just a lot of BS. And the Transportation Policy, the Water Resource and Development Act. All right, that doesn't supply chain. Here we go. Congressional transportation panels plan to advance legislation meant to enhance safety along rail lines that were out there in recent in a recent resolution out there. Obviously what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, which is kind of crazy how that still hasn't necessarily been addressed or fixed. But anyways, the Senate passed a Railway Safety Act meant to promote the safe transportation of rail out there. I want to see more actual action, right? Like, it seems like we write a lot of bills and in stuff like that, but like, what's actually being done? And, if you look at the Infrastructure Investment Act of the $1.2 trillion that is going on out there, how many of like the results are everything to me, right? Because there's always so much talk, there's so much bureaucracy that goes on, but like, what's actually being done out there to fix it? Where is this money being spent? And I wish that they would show more of that out there. And I know that there's a lot of stuff that's up in the air with a lot of this, but it's like we're approving all of this money. They should have like a list, right? Of like, hey, these are the projects that we're actually doing right now. And then you look at something like what happened in East Palestine and the amount of train derailments and stuff that went out there. Again, I just think that there's so much more, like, it's just so foggy in all of this stuff, right? Where it's almost like, hey, we approved all this money, but we're not necessarily going to show you where it all goes and how it's all being spent. And then obviously it talks about, to finish out this article, about the presidential election, and they're going to formally nominate their candidates. And it looks like, just based on polling alone, Donald Trump is the clear front runner for the Republicans, and Biden is campaigning for re-election. And it's looking like it's a high likelihood that those are going to be out there. And then let me see here, the announcement. All right. And then also they're talking about the shakeup in the House as well, about certain people, like how that could shift the balance of power and everything out there. And it goes on to say that to end this one, on the House side, an array of recent retirements creates an opportunity for people to retake control. And then it goes on to say that accountability needs to be had out there about, the lies and the corruption and everything. But I think that goes for everything in DC. I think it's Warren Buffett who said that candidates shouldn't be able to be up for re-election if we're still in a national debt. And I would agree with that when it comes down to this, because again, on all of this stuff that goes through, there's going to be more volume back and forth, more shit talking back and forth. But what's actually going to get done outside of us getting our taxes increased and taxed at a higher rate and everything else? I think we got to have Warren Buffett's statement out there come in. None of these elected officials should be up for re-election if we're into national debt. I agree with Warren Buffett because it's appalling how much money we spend compared to what we actually bring in. Anyways, that article is talking about federal funding for the transportation industry, ttnews.com. And then also, I think so. I wanted to bring this up quick, just as a quick article here from the JOC talking about the Red Sea and the attacks that are continuing to happen. I want us all to pay close attention to this, right? Because when I had my guest on here, a couple last 2 weeks ago. Anyways, when we were talking about this, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of changed since then. And it's going to be interesting to see because a lot of the freight that ships through the Red Sea and everything are mainly bound for like Europe and stuff like that. But I think that this could possibly play in more along the lines of what is still going on down in the Panama Canal and everything. And I think that this might play into the 2024 freight market a lot more to see, is this going to change things because of ocean rates, right? And this article is talking about that the FMC should guard against carrier profit center from Red Sea surcharges. I do not agree with the government getting involved and telling people what they can and can't charge for their services. But this is one thing that I think will always have a greater effect when ocean rates start to rise. And shipping is forced to change routes due to conflicts and everything else. What delays does that happen? Does that play into the inventory replenishment as well, where they're going to see this? And then, they might, I don't want to call it panic buy, but they might buy additional inventory because you never know, right? Like the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal are two very large shipping areas that have a ton of volume going through there every single year. So pay attention to that, you guys. Pay attention to that when it comes down to the domestic piece, and that will inevitably affect us over here. Okay. So if you see these headlines right now and you don't like, they're like, oh, that's over in the Middle East. What does that have to do with it? It has everything to do with us on the domestic side. It just might not today, but inevitably or eventually the trickle down effect could possibly roll into our laps. So you could look at that as an opportunity on maybe some increased volumes or something going on into 2024. But again, start paying attention to that stuff, you guys, because we are a global economy no matter what. And our manufacturing on some of our critical components is done in other countries. And but like I always say, we need to nearshore all this stuff, right? We should bring it all back in, bring our manufacturing back in-house and not have any foreign dependence out there. But that's a conversation for another show. But I would look into that, you guys. The JOC is who I follow a lot for a lot of their articles. They're probably my top news source that I follow. But I really think especially when it comes down to the maritime and ocean, they are the top news source that's out there, hands down, when it comes to this. So start paying attention to them. Yes, there's a subscription to their stuff, but it is worth every single penny, in my opinion, to do it because, JOC.com, FMC should guard against carrier profit center from Red Sea surcharges. That will also, I think that has an effect into some things out there. Yes, I would agree. We need to get back to the made in the USA. Amen to that. But that will be it for today, you guys. I'll have more articles tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow, as I am every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. And as always, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network. Because at the end of the day, that's how we grow and help more people, is because of each and every one of you. And the fact that if you see value, your network is going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.